It was a cold and rainy night in Oakland, California. The streets were deserted, with only a few occasional cars passing through the dimly lit avenues. Stephen Curry, the star of the Golden State Warriors, was driving his luxury car after yet another intense training session at the team's gym. His muscles ached, and his mind was focused on the upcoming games of the season. Suddenly, a strange noise came from the engine, followed by a cloud of smoke rising from the hood. Stephen, surprised, tried to control the car as it lost speed. With one final jolt, the vehicle came to a complete stop in the middle of the street. Stephen attempted to restart the engine multiple times, but without success. Frustrated, he hit the steering wheel and let out an exasperated sigh. Realizing he was in an unfamiliar part of the city, Stephen stepped out of the car and looked around. The rain was getting heavier, and he quickly became drenched. He pulled the hood of his sweatshirt over his head, trying to shield himself from the icy water running down his face. As he searched for help, Stephen spotted a small mechanic shop at the end of the street. A faint light shone through the windows, indicating that someone was still there despite the late hour. With no other options, Stephen ran toward the shop, dodging puddles and avoiding the cracks in the sidewalk. Upon entering the shop, Stephen was greeted by a middle-aged mechanic with a face marked by deep lines and calloused hands. The man, named Michael, was about to close up for the night when Stephen appeared, dripping water onto the concrete floor. "Good evening, sir. Sorry to bother you so late, but my car broke down around the corner and I really need some help," said Stephen, pulling back his hood and revealing his face. Michael looked at Stephen with a neutral expression, not recognizing him. "No problem, kid. Let's take a look at your car. Show me where it is." The two of them stepped out into the rain, walking quickly toward Stephen's car. Michael examined the vehicle with experienced eyes, opening the hood and inspecting the engine. He frowned and shook his head, realizing that the issue was more serious than he had initially thought. "Looks like the alternator gave out. It's not a quick fix, but I can try to get it done tonight if you don't mind waiting," said Michael, wiping his grease-stained hands on a worn-out rag. Stephen, grateful for the help, immediately agreed. "I'd really appreciate it if you could fix it. I don't have anything else to do tonight, and I really need the car to get home." Michael nodded and got to work, while Stephen watched with interest. He was impressed by the mechanic's skill and dedication, who seemed to put his full effort into the repair, despite the late hour and the harsh conditions. The hours dragged on as Michael diligently worked on Stephen's car. The sound of tools and the occasional hum of an engine filled the shop, while the rain continued to pour outside. Stephen, sitting on a worn-out bench, watched Michael with growing admiration. Finally, after hours of hard work, Michael closed the hood of the car and wiped the sweat from his forehead. "All right, kid. Your car is running again. It was a tough repair, but I think I got the problem solved." Stephen, relieved and grateful, shook Michael's hand enthusiastically. "Thank you so much, Michael. You saved my night. I don't know what I would have done without your help." Michael smiled, his tired eyes shining with satisfaction. "Don't worry about it, kid. I'm happy to help someone in need. That's what I'm here for." Stephen, impressed by Michael's generosity, insisted on paying for the repair. "Please, let me compensate you in some way. Your work and kindness mean a lot to me." Michael shook his head, politely refusing. "You don't have to pay me anything, kid. Consider it a favor from a friend." Stephen, however, wouldn't take no for an answer. "Then how about letting me buy you a coffee? We can chat for a bit before you close up the shop. I'd like to get to know the person who helped me so much tonight." Michael thought for a moment and then agreed. "All right, if you insist. I'll make us some coffee." The two of them sat in a corner of the workshop, with steaming cups of coffee in their hands. Steph began to tell Mike about his life, his passion for basketball, and the challenges he had faced to reach the NBA. He spoke about the long hours of training, the injuries, and the sacrifices he had made along the way. Mike listened attentively, nodding in understanding. He shared his own stories of struggle and perseverance, talking about how he had inherited the workshop from his father and worked hard to keep it running despite economic difficulties. Throughout the conversation, Steph became increasingly impressed by Mike's wisdom and resilience. Despite all the adversities he had faced, Mike maintained a positive attitude and a strong sense of community. He spoke about the importance of helping others and never giving up even when things seemed impossible. Steph felt a deep connection with Mike, as if he had found an unexpected mentor and friend on that rainy night. They laughed, shared stories, and discussed life, finding comfort and inspiration in each other's company. When the conversation came to an end, Steph said goodbye to Mike with a warm hug. "Thank you again for everything, Mike. You not only fixed my car, but you also gave me a new perspective on life." Mike smiled, his eyes shining with emotion. "It was a pleasure meeting you, Steph. Remember, life is full of ups and downs, but it is how we deal with them that defines us. Never lose hope, and always reach out to help others." In the days following his encounter with Mike, Steph couldn't get the mechanic out of his mind. Mike's wise words and generosity had touched his heart in a way he had never experienced before. Steph felt an increasing need to return Mike's kindness and somehow make a difference in his life. Determined to find a way to help, Steph began doing some research. He used his contacts in the Oakland community to learn more about Mike's situation and was shocked by what he discovered. Despite all his hard work and dedication, Mike was facing serious financial difficulties. The workshop he had inherited from his father was on the verge of closing due to accumulated debts and a lack of customers. Steph felt a pang in his heart at the thought of Mike losing the workshop that meant so much to him. He knew he had to do something to help, just as Mike had helped him on that rainy night. With newfound determination, Steph began putting his plan into action. He reached out to some of his sponsors and business partners, explaining Mike's situation and asking for their help. Surprisingly, many of them were moved by the story and offered to contribute in some way. Meanwhile, Steph also started spreading the word about Mike's workshop on social media. He posted about Mike's incredible skill and work ethic, encouraging people to visit the workshop for their automotive repairs. The response was overwhelming, with hundreds of people sharing the post and promising to support Mike. Several days later, Steph decided to pay Mike a surprise visit. When he arrived at the workshop, he was shocked to see a line of cars waiting to be repaired. Mike was busy working on an engine, surrounded by satisfied and grateful customers. When Mike spotted Steph, his face lit up with a smile. "Steph, what are you doing here? I didn't expect to see you again." Steph smiled and walked up to Mike. "I came to see how you were doing and to share some good news. Remember when you told me that life is full of ups and downs? Well, I think it's time for you to experience some ups." Mike looked at Steph with curiosity, not fully understanding what he meant. Steph then explained everything he had done over the past few weeks: the fundraising, the promotion of the workshop on social media, and the support he had received from the community. He handed Mike a check with a significant amount of money, enough to pay off all the workshop's debts and secure its future. Mike was speechless, tears forming in his eyes. He hugged Steph tightly, murmuring words of gratitude. "I don't know what to say, Steph. You have changed my life. How can I ever thank you?" Steph smiled and patted Mike's shoulder. "You have already thanked me, Mike. That rainy night, when you helped me without expecting anything in return. You showed me the true meaning of generosity and kindness. I'm just returning the favor." The news about Steph's good deeds spread quickly throughout the city of Oakland and beyond. The story of how a National Basketball Association star had helped a humble mechanic save his business touched the hearts of millions of people across the country. Mike found himself at the center of attention, with reporters and television cameras appearing at his workshop to interview him. Despite all the attention, Mike remained humble and grateful. He continued to work hard every single day, fixing cars and helping people in his community. The workshop, now free of debt, thrived like never before, with a loyal clientele and a reputation for excellence. Steph and Mike kept in regular contact, their friendship growing stronger every single day. They frequently met to talk and share stories, laughing at the twists and turns that life had brought them. One day, Steph invited Mike to watch a game of the Warriors at Oracle Arena. Mike, who had never watched a professional basketball game before, was thrilled by the invitation. When he arrived at the stadium, Steph surprised him with a front-row ticket and a personalized Warriors jersey with his name on it. Throughout the game, Mike cheered and celebrated every single basket, feeling like part of something bigger. He watched Steph on the court, admiring his skill and dedication. In that moment, Mike realized that he had gained not only a friend but also a role model to look up to. After the game, Steph introduced Mike to the rest of the team, who welcomed him with open arms. They listened attentively as Mike shared his story and offered words of encouragement and support. Mike felt embraced and valued, as if he had found a new family. As time passed, the story of Steph and Mike continued to inspire people all around the world. They became a symbol of kindness, generosity, and the power of human connections. Their stories were shared in schools, churches, and community centers, encouraging others to reach out and make a difference in someone's life. Years later, Mike decided to expand his workshop, opening branches in other parts of the city. He hired young local mechanics, offering them training and career opportunities. Mike became a respected leader in his community, known for his wisdom, compassion, and dedication to helping others. Steph, in turn, continued to shine on the courts of the ABB, National Basketball Association, leading the Warriors to multiple championships. But despite all his success, he never forgot the lessons he had learned from Mike that rainy night in Oakland. He continued to use his platform to do good, supporting important causes and inspiring others to do the same. In the end, the story of Steph and Mike serves as a powerful reminder that every single act of kindness, no matter how small, can have a lasting impact, that a single human connection can change lives, and that together we can create a kinder, more compassionate, and hopeful world. And so, on a rainy night in Oakland, two lives crossed paths and were forever transformed. A chance encounter between a basketball star and a humble mechanic became a story of inspiration, friendship, and the triumph of the human spirit. A story that will continue to be told for generations as proof of the power of generosity and kindness in an often difficult world.